There was an interview that caught my eye. Someone gave me a tip because they saw something funny. So I decided to check it out because otherwise I would never really check this out. So big shout out to my friend. They was like, hey, there's a particular moment in the interview to check out. So I was like, all right, I actually want to watch. I want to see what's going on between this Nina Turner and Dr. Cornel West interview. So this is, I don't know if Nina Turner, I don't think she does her show live. So I don't know exactly when it's a film, but it was released yesterday. So Dr. Cornel West is doing the tour. He went on CNN. Then he went on Nina Turner, and then he went to the hood in RBN, right? So in the beginning of this interview, we're not going to watch the whole thing. There's a part that I found extremely funny because you had Nina Turner that was essentially begging him to run Democrat. So the same way that Jacobin and the progressive left, they got this friendly relationship with Dr. Cornel West because they was helping them with the Bernie campaign, and Dr. Cornel West still have that camaraderie with Nina Turner. You can see it in this conversation. But at the same time, they're like, yeah, Dr. Cornel West really love you, but it would be great if you ran Democrat, right? That's essentially how these conversations go. And I knew it was going to go this way, but I didn't know Nina Turner would phrase it this way. I don't want to spoil it too much because I'll fast forward a lot. The first 14 minutes, I'm glad that you did not see this. Go ahead, CJ.
It's funny because, Nick, this is actually the next segment I was just about to do. So we're on the same page. I haven't watched this whole thing, but I have seen a snippet of the Democratic part. So I may have seen this part, but it's so funny how
I was hoping
this is literally the topic I was just about to do. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was hoping I caught you off guard because this shit was funny to me. And Dr. Cornel West comes off in the responses very now. Being I don't want to spoil it, but this is Nina Turner making
so it's obvious that the two major parties do not necessarily listen to what the American people want and what they need.
Now remember, 14 minutes of them bouncing left ideas off themselves. So this is where Nina Turner picked to choose this question now because she's like, I want to get the radical left out of the way. Now, after we talk all about that, how about running as a Democrat? Like that's always will be their pitch. Anyway,
Dr. West, why would you take a risk and run in the Green Party when you could have ran? This is another argument as a revolutionary, freedom-fighting, anti-neoliberal Democrat.
Yeah, see, things are getting oxymoronic when you start.
So if you guys missed that, Dr. Cornel West is extremely nice about it, but Nina Turner asked him a dumbass fucking question in the dumbest possible way you can possibly frame it, and Dr. Cornel West is baffled by her stupidity here. So she's like, "Whoa, Democrat, revolutionary Democrat, that's oxymoron." Now let's watch it again because I swear to God, I literally stopped. And that's why I got the tweet. It's doing numbers right now because people are like, what? This really happened? Because I saw that like, dude, that's the funniest shit I ever seen. But Dr. Cornel West says it in a very nice way. So listen to this part again.
But before you play it again, it's very interesting. She has to. It's like knowing that the word Democrat has so disgusting, has such a bad connotation.
Yeah.
She has to add all of these other adjectives.
She laid it on
revolutionary. Real thick.
Laid it on real thick.
Yes, CJ. That's such a great point.
So it's so ridiculous. It'll be like, me saying something that's dry, and then I'm using all these words to describe wet in order to describe dirt. Like I'm adding all this shit on top. This very free-flowing dirt, and it's very, it's very thirst quenching, and it's dirt. It's so ridiculous. The description that she tries to give to as a Democrat. But
that's why Dr.
Go ahead and replay it.
Destroys her in the most polite way possible. He was like, I'm sorry, that's the most oxymoronic shit I've ever heard in my life. But anyway, any take before, let's watch it one more time, and there's a little more context here. Let's watch the whole thing again, then I'm gonna get the panel in.
Healthcare in this country, corporations, we wouldn't have laissez-faire government, laissez-faire going rampant in this country. Prescription drugs would be affordable in this country, so on and so forth. So it's obvious that the two major parties do not necessarily listen to.
So remember, the whole 14 minutes before this you won't find a lot of objectionable things they said because they were just hitting on the corruption in Democrats, corruption in the system, why we need to fight for people. Then she went to here, like, let's turn it around. Let's bring it home, baby.
Right. She just said both parties do not work for the working class.
Yep.
She just said it. So
here she goes sheepdogging. Here you go. Let's watch it. Let's watch this.
What the American people want and what they need. But Dr. West, why? Why would you take a risk and run in the Green Party when you could have ran, this is another argument, as a revolutionary, freedom-fighting, anti-neoliberal Democrat?
Yeah, see, things are getting oxymoronic when you start talking about revolutionary Democrat these days.
Man just casually dismantles her in the most polite way possible.
But can I just...
He baffled. He like, dude, that's the stupidest. He thinking inside like, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life.
I think there are things I really like about Nina Turner. I think, except for the fact that she continually goes back to the Democratic Party after they cheated her out of like 2 elections. But I look at this still shot of her face. I think she knows what he's saying is true, which is perplexing to me, because why would you even ask the question? You can you could frame it and say, well, some people say you should run as a Democrat. What's your answer? But not like you really want to know. And he's like, are you asking me this? And he's probably thinking, you know what they did to you, right? Like, she was leading in the polls and then they supported her terrible opponent. I mean, come on. It's just, what is the hold on these people? I don't know what it is. It's bizarre.
Yeah, Jay, anything you want to add? Because we're going to get to Cornel West's explanation, which is solid. And then Nina try to go with a follow-up after that because she's like, God damn, got to pull him in. But anyway, Jay, I want to get your thoughts before we continue.
Yeah, I mean, she did run as a Democrat twice for the congressional seat and then back during her Ohio Senate seat, and then worked on Bernie's campaign when he ran as a Democrat both times. So she knows what the strings are. Like, there's strings attached to running in the Democratic Party. You know, some of them include, like, having to give your, supporter list to the party, having to donate a part of your funds to the party, having to endorse the nominee at the end. And who wants to fucking do that shit, you know, when you're trying to run against the Democrats? If you lose, which they'll make sure he loses if he runs a Democrat, they'll be forced to essentially use his voter base and use his fundraising to support the party apparatus, the same apparatus that'll fuck him over in the first place. So the answer is obvious, and Nina knows it's obvious. Like, I cannot believe, I would find it hard to believe that she would not know that. So the fact that she's still asking that question after knowing what she does for years, I personally think it's just bad faith.
Yeah, CJ, I told you this shit's gonna be funny, didn't I? The Cornel West shit happened. Like, this shit is going to be great to watch these progressives trying to toe this line of like, man, I really like you talk to West, but whew, that Green Party shit, I'm not allowed to go there. So let's watch it again. I'm allowed to play. I want you guys to see Dr. Cornel West's entire answer, but let's keep the comedy in there. So I'll show the answer again.
In the Green Party, when you could have ran, this is another argument, as a revolutionary, freedom-fighting, anti-neoliberal Democrat.
Yeah, see, things are getting oxymoronic when you start talking about revolutionary Democrat these days. There's some decent people in the Democratic Party. And of course, I always have a love of Brother Bernie. He's not in the Democratic Party, but he's working so closely with them now. But no, the Democratic Party is so undemocratic, unsocratic that they're not going to have primaries that allow for debates. It's hard to raise your voice that's critical of the Democratic Party if you're within the party. More and more, they're requiring a kind of presumptuous loyalty to the candidate, so it's hard to tell the truth about the candidate, but it's hard to tell the truth about the system and the empire that the candidate is.
Can you pause it here?
Head of. Yeah. So that the Democratic Party.
Do you think two things? Do you think, because if you listen to what he's saying, it sounds like advice to Nina Turner to get the fuck out of the Democratic Party. If you listen to what he's saying, right? So do you think he's saying it so she can kind of hear it? Or do you, or the on the other side, do you think Nina Turner is listening and going, "Wow, yeah, maybe"? Like, you think she's listening as that's advice directed to her? Go ahead.
Because remember, the biggest criticism of Dr. West that people have is that he's too loving of these motherfuckers, right? And that's why we had that initial flinch. We're like, yeah, there's something like you don't have to be nice, but that's just who he is, and that's a flaw, and that's something that we had to accept. But that's and we can continue to push him on. Don't get twisted. But he says that first, but he also trying like, yeah, I can say that nice part, but this is the reality. Like the Democratic Party is corrupt, and that way he said earlier, and that's. The message is most important, and obviously we all want him to have more fire when he says these things. I think we all can agree with it, but the message is that the Democratic Party we should not run and operate on, and I think that's important. Well, obviously, when I heard that part about I like some Democrats. Well, again, he says that because that's the kind of guy he is. I just wish he don't say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's let it play a little bit more because I want you guys to see Nina's follow up to this as well, and then the exchange overall. It's not too long, not a long clip overall, but let's see how far we get to it.
That's critical of the Democratic Party. If you're within the party, more and more they're requiring a kind of presumptuous loyalty to the candidate. So it's hard to tell the truth about the candidate, but it's hard to tell the truth about the system and the empire that the candidate is the head of. So that the Democratic Party more and more is using progressives as window dressing, and in the end, at their core, is really it's really corporate wealth, it's really corporate power, and militarism as well. And most of them vote for expansion of the military budget. Most of them don't really want to cut back on the 800 military units around the world, or U.S. troops in over 150 countries. They don't want to deal with the need for the mass.
By the way, I watched the whole clip, the whole video. They didn't have any foreign policy conversation. So, like Nina Turner, they brought on to talk about domestic shit, right? And you see how Dr. Cornel West himself had to bring up foreign policy. And that's how deeply unserious the progressives are. You got the commander-in-chief, someone who's running to be commander-in-chief, and you just talk about domestic shit, right?
But
anyway,
I think,
if my memory serves.
But to be fair, like, I think generally as a country, we don't do a good job of talking about foreign policy. Because we're still, I think, just so, having lived abroad, and being born and raised abroad, like, Americans are just so insular in terms of, oh, this shit is about us, and like having this kind of, and we see it in terms of how we operate in terms of the world. Like, we're number one in everything. We have to be like the big bad and everything, and not necessarily consider, other countries and their perspective on things. I don't think it's by accident. I just think that the general go-to in this country is, we're just so submersed in.
That's why we're trying to be the change, because that's why I'm trying to get people to snap into it. Like, it never made sense to me, because I learned how the three branches of government work. So it never understood to me, like, why do people talk about presidency without the foreign policy being the lead?
Right.
I'm not saying that the influence of the president is important on domestic, but why is that the fucking lead? Like, that's ridiculous. And if you want to be someone who just cares most about domestic policy, I can make the argument, many people can make the argument that you shouldn't run for Congress because they still vote. Right. They still vote, but at least you have more influence on domestic policy as someone part of Congress. That's why it never makes sense for people who are weak on foreign policy, like Marianne Williamson, to like go straight for presidency. Stay in your goddamn lane. That's why Dr. Cornel West, at least, like whether realistic or not, at least he's a foreign policy led person first. He Palestinian activist first, and he run for president. Right. That's why. Anyway, Colin,
I think given that with Cornel West, him having more philosophical, theological background, it makes sense that he's going to think more globally in that regard. So I'm glad he was able to kind of insert a little something in terms of foreign policy here. But I think and I definitely agree with you, Nick. I think especially with independent media, we definitely need to change. We have to be more encompassing in terms of thinking about foreign politics as how we affect other countries, because I'll say this, in every country that I've lived in or I've been to, they know about American policy to some degree, but we can't say shit about the other countries that we can affect. And I think
to that point,
we have to be more cognizant of that too.
To that point, Colin, there's an article where the Cuban, I think it was the Cuban president, I hope I don't misspoke there, but there's some Cuban high official that said the Biden administration, Cuban embargo and Cuban policies have been worse than Trump. Like they were talking about, like, we don't even view American politics as Republican. Like, we don't even view that shit as that. We like, all right, who's leading the empire now? That's why it's absurd to international leftists and people international mind, like I try to be, that people like Kyle Kalinske and Neil Turner trying to paint one party, one empire manager better than the other, considering the track record. But anyway, that last pause is my bad. I apologize for that. But anyway, I want to get to at least Neil Turner's response. That was my bad for stopping.
Yeah, good.
But I'm gonna let it play a little bit more because I want to get at least Neil Turner's follow-up question, and then we wrap this segment up.
The redistribution downward. They don't want to deal for the massive move of monies to military, but they get austerity like when it comes to social needs, when it comes to schools, jobs with a living wage, decent housing, quality education, and so forth. So in that sense, I must say, one of the lessons I learned from Brother Bernie, and I'll never forget being with that brother in Nevada. Oh, boy, that was a sublime moment because it looked like we was going to win.
Yeah, we would have, Dr. West, had it not been.
Brother Obama made that call. Made that call. Neoliberals dropped out the race.
So he's reminding her that
anybody would burn. And I said to myself, but these folk would rather lose than change.
That's it. And you know who's going to lose the most is the everyday people that you talk about on a regular basis.
That's the key, right?
They're the biggest losers. But Dr. West, for those who are not neoliberals, those in the grassroots progressive movement who would say, "Dag, Doc, had you, running as a Democrat, even reluctantly so, would give you a better opportunity in terms of raising money, etc." So I want you to speak to.
She's like, don't you understand that you can grift easier if you run as a Democrat?
This is terrible, man.
This literally is terrible. This is beyond terrible because this is coming from Nina Turner, the person the Democrats destroyed twice. So the person who failed to run in the Democratic Party, like, hey, how about you run in the Democratic Party and fail like I did? But sorry, I want to get you guys in. This is unbelievable.
And she literally.
You want time? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're cutting out for me. Was someone else going?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
She literally said this directly after he reminds her about the phone call. Like, Bernie was winning. He was running away with it. He plowed through Nevada, right? Like he was leading with what term is the most acceptable? Latinx, Latino, Latina.
Latino.
Right. That's what I'm told. So he was leading with that, and there was a point in time when Bernie was leading with the black vote too. So that whole trope about Bernie didn't have support from the black community. Right now, Biden's approval rating with the black community, last I checked, was 56%. It is. If that's even that high, that is historically low for a Democrat. You cannot win with that. So he brings it up. He goes, look, remember when that call was made? And then instead of dealing with that, her response is, but why won't you run as a Democrat?
It's so ridiculous.
I don't get it. I don't know what's happening.
Go ahead, Colin. Go ahead.
I find it very hard to believe, and I'm going to speak well of Nina Turner in this. I find it very hard to believe that this is what she really thinks. I'm sure that this might be someone within TYT or who her handlers are who forced her to ask these questions because she knows better than this. She has to know better than this than to look this stupid on purpose. No, I this really blows my, and just the way she just kind of casually just asked that, she knows better than this. Like
her job and
just like listen to her tone.
What was that, Jay?
I was to add on to Colin's point. Just listen to her tone, like when she's asking Dr. West these questions.
I'm gonna play it again. I'm gonna let it play a little bit more so you guys see more of the exchange because the question alone is pause worthy. Because I'm like, the whole conversation, this is where you're going to do a follow-up pushback. At no point during the conversation was she like, nah, Dr. Cornel, let me push back on you. This is the one. And this is after doing the past. Yeah, I hear you, understand. Yeah, but what about running as a Democrat? You have a better chance. Like, these people, they sound like it's literally psychotic at this point. Like, how many times? Like, you got screwed. Bernie, like, Dr. Cornel West in the previous answer just reminded you how the primary was rigged, and you're still like, why don't you try? Anyway, let me play it.
And you know who's gonna lose the most is the everyday people that you talk about on a regular basis.
That's the key, right?
They're the biggest losers. But Dr. West, for those who are not neoliberals, those in the grassroots progressive movement who would say, "Dag, Doc, running as a Democrat, even reluctantly so, would give you a better opportunity in terms of raising money, etc." So I want you to speak to the people who are vibing with your message, but just believe that because the two parties have crushed third parties so much that.
But you did great though.
Even reluctantly, you would have had a better chance running as a Democrat, even though you're not of it, just using it as a tool. What do you say to them?
I would tell them that the Democratic Party has a long history of crushing the progressives within its own ranks. And when they don't do
he keeps dismantling her in one sentence. Now that's the second time that happened.
Yeah, but the thing is, Nick,
go ahead.
There's literally no way that I keep listening. There's no way that both of them are not thinking about what he's saying applies to her. There's no way that he's able to be saying this in front of her when she is the person. So when you're saying, when she said, us people who are not neoliberals, we are the good ones in the Democratic Party. What would you say to them? She's one of them. So the answer he gives applies to her. Nina, you're one of the people that ran. You're one of the people that he's referring to that the Democratic Party historically crushed people like you, and you were crushed twice. What are these people thinking that we're gonna do? Those people over at the Nation, the Nathan Johnsons over at Current Affair, who are so want this guy to run as a Democrat, but is it that they really think he has a better chance, or is it that they really understand if he's going to be crushed, and then he has brought in those non-establishment people back to the Democratic Party?
And to add to that, C-Day, like, hearing this the second time, she said something very slick. She was like, for people who work in grassroots, who want you, something towards the lines of possibly want you to run as a Democrat. Like, unless they're really hacks, I don't know anyone in the grassroots that wants them to vote.
Hold on, I was about to bring this up. You know what that is? She's saying, I got my audience, it filled up people who are progressive, but they only support Democrats. So what's your message to them? That's what the question is, essentially.
But don't associate that with grassroots. But they're not grassroots, though, Nick.
They're not.
They're not.
But that's Nina. She's going to fill that in.
But I'll tell you who it is. It's the PMCs who may have these larger organizations. And I know plenty of them in DC that talk a good game, but actually don't do shit. That's who she's really talking to. It's not people like me who screw the red-blue game. Like, we're just doing it as far as class. So she was very slick in trying to make it, like, in terms of thinking of the grassroots, in terms of, she wasn't talking about class there. She was talking about the PMCs, as you said, who watch TYT or all these other big channels. That's who she's communicating to, not us.
Go ahead, CJ.
I was going to say, people like Nina Turner and the professional managerial class, to your point, Colin, people like Nina Turner, this is what they do all the time. They take language that does not apply to them, and then they use it. This is why they use words like revolutionary. Oh, part of the movement. What fucking movement are you part of? They're just using our language, and this is another case where she's using our language, because if you guys that she's talking about like him so much, what's stopping you from voting for him? Yes. What's stopping you from voting for him, the guy that you love so much and you agree with all of his politics? What's stopping you from voting for him? Go ahead,
remember what Crystal said? Crystal said, yeah, I would love a theoretical third party that sprung up out of nowhere, but this is reality. So what's she saying? She's like, I would love for a third party to come, but I'm not going to help you guys get there. Like, only once you guys get about to win, then I will support you guys. That's the ultimate cowardice. The ultimate cowardice is like, yeah, I like your idea, but I'm not going to support you unless you win. What kind of shit is that? What kind of bullshit is that? But anyway, let me.
But even Nina Turner, though, like, yeah, just real quick, I want to say, like, during her first run against Chantal Brown, she was outpolling Chantal at, like, I think 60 to 20 or something like that. And then, like, a couple months later, when it comes time for the election, she just barely lost. So she was going to win this, like, easily, but the party made sure that a Democrat like Nina Turner made sure that she would lose. And this was after Nina Turner, like, started using talking points like access to healthcare and partying out with the card sellers. So she was doing what they wanted her to do. And despite having this overwhelming lead, they still made sure that a Democrat, Nina Turner, still lost to a Democrat that they prefer. So, you know, Nina just and just from the tone that she even asked these questions, like, it does seem disingenuous. Like, what would you, like, she couldn't even say it with a straight face when she was saying, why don't you run as, like, anti-neoliberal freedom fighting Democrat? Like, she said it in, like, such a, like, she could barely hold her laughter back. You know, she knows it's bullshit, but she has to, like, make those talking points anyway.
Dr. Cornel West was baffled by her stupidity after asking that. So let's we did the last time we gonna play it. So we let finish.
Yeah, let's play it
up. So this last time we let play all the way through. I want you guys to hear his full answer. So we
not neoliberals, those in the grassroots progressive movement who would say, "Dag, Doc, had you, I mean, running as a Democrat, even reluctantly so, would give you a better opportunity in terms of raising money, etc." So I want you to speak to the people who are vibing with your message, but just believe that because the two parties have crushed third parties so much that even reluctantly you would have had a better chance running as a Democrat, even though you're not of it, just using it as a tool. What do you say to them?
I would tell them that the Democratic Party has a long history of crushing the progressives within its own ranks. And when they don't do that, they co-opt them. They incorporate them. They deodorize, sterilize, sanitize them into their mainstream. That's the challenge right now. Sister ALC, God bless her. See, she come in full of fire. Oh, she's swinging like Muhammad Ali when she came in. Now things have gotten smoothed out. Now things have been incorporated and co-opted in that way. Now she still got a long life, so she can change. But we got to just tell the truth. People can see the transformation. They can see the evolution in that way, you see. Now she still got some fire. I'm sure she's always going to have some fire. But we have to be honest about it. The Democratic Party specializes in that. So you end up with all of these black faces in high places, and they can't say a mumbling word about mass incarceration, can't say a mumbling word about poverty and homelessness in a consistent way, and won't say a mumbling word about Palestinians. And you say, what happened? What happened was they got co-opted. They got big positions. They got status. They become these would be a way of talking about it though. They become peacocks, strutting around. Look at me, I'm the head of this. I got this status. I got this big position. Yeah, we can hear Malcolm X saying peacocks strut because they can't fly.
Come on, talk about it.
We want to fly like eagles. Keep track of what's happening all the way down in the lower strata, in the hoods, and on the reservations, in the barrios, in the ghettos, in the working class communities, no matter what colors. 1 out of 8 folk who voted for Trump voted for Brother Bernie. So just because Trump's a neo-fascist doesn't mean everybody who voted for him is a neo-fascist. They tired of the arrogance and the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. They tired of the arrogance and the hypocrisy of the professional managerial strata, and they want somebody to speak to their needs. 40% of U.S. population who can vote don't vote at all.
That's right. And the majority of voters
who vote for the Green Party would not vote for any party whatsoever.
That's true, Dr. West. And the majority of voters don't even identify with Republican or Democrat. I mean,
but you guys, pause it here. But you guys want him to run as a Democrat, even though, like, it's so ridiculous. But Dr. Cornel West absolutely destroyed the professional managerial class. destroyed Nina Turner. I don't know if Nina Turner understood he was talking about her. It's almost like she did. He's talking about you, Nina Turner. He's talking about you. And then lastly, the thing he says about AOC is one thing for all of us to be saying this about AOC. When it's coming from Cornel West, this is what I love, Nick. When we're saying it, them Negroes, they don't know what they're saying over there. You know what I'm saying? But when Shama Sawat, when Chris Hedges, when Cornel West says the same exact thing, then they want to be, yeah, that's exactly Nina Turner. Nina Turner, that's exactly what we said about AOC, and you said she's the best we got. This is exactly what Cornel West is saying. Go ahead, Colin.
Yeah, he destroyed her. He destroyed AOC to her face. But go ahead, guys. That was amazing. Go ahead, guys.
We thought we were gonna chime in, Colin.
I was just agreeing.
That was a great.
I'm down for one more story, but you guys see how easy it is to dismantle those talking points. So like I don't know like what Nina Turner really expected, and I know one of you guys, I forgot which one said like she was ordered to ask those questions, but you guys see how they're compelled to bring him into the Democratic Party. That's why it was very interesting. See, at the very beginning, I'm like, dude, this is gonna be very interesting to see how this play out. To see these people do this dance between pretending to be revolutionary, while at the end of the day, their loyalty will forever be the Democratic Party. So Dr. Cornel West is going to be a big test, and we already seen the people who failed initially. I saw someone say, I wish I can give them credit because I didn't make this up, but someone said Dr. Cornel West running as the People's Party first was actually a high-key 3D chess move because it exposed the professional managerial class when he eventually switched to green. There was other people like, oh man, if only you ran as a great party.
And now,
now, motherfucker. So like in hindsight, like that was a 3D chess move because he forced the professional managerial class to show their cards early, and then they showed their cards early, and then Dr. Cornel West was like, all right, now that I did what you said, I'm a Green Party person. Now what? Now and then we made a lot of videos mocking the people who did like, yeah, I know I said you should run as a Green, but now I think you should run as a Democrat. He forced them to show their hand, which is once again, I didn't make that theory up, but it was I don't think he did it on purpose, but it was an accidental 3D chess move.